The PoeMobile truck is coming to town, to Bed-Stuy, on May 9th to be exact. Up next, we'll introduce you to the organizer of the event, as well as to a musical ambassador for the U.S. State Department, who also happens to be a Brooklynite and a revolutionary poet. But first, let's take a look at the clip from the PoeMobile's Harlem tribute to the late Sekou Sundiata. Take a look.
Here's to the best words in the right place at the perfect time, to the human mind blown up and refined, to long conversations and the philosophical ramifications of a beautiful day. Here's to the 12 steppers at the 13th step. May they never forget the first step.
Here's to Brooklyn, the baggiest 90 fat farmers on Bed-Stuy b-boying corners, hoop earring door knockers, shell-toed Adidas, neon lace, to the 21st century Jordan retro rockers. Here's to home, a flat bush being rolled in smoke but thrives to the flames. Here's to the purgatory hues of skin tones, to be biracial, to be black, to be white, to be black, to be white, to be black, to be white, to be too light, to be too dark.
To the do, to the did, 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 to the dun dun.
That was great.
The evolution of poetry right in front of our eyes.
That's
It's
right.
still relevant, people. Well, joining us now on BK Live are two key players driving the success of the mobile poetry truck. Please welcome Mr. Steve Zeitlin. He's the co-founder and co-producer of City Lore, which sponsors the PoeMobile. Thank you for being here.
I'm not only driving the success of
Yeah.
the PoeMobile truck, I'm actually driving the
Are you
PoeMobile
really?
truck.
Oh my gosh.
There's a story there. Thank you for being here. And we also have rapper, writer, and actress Toni Blackman, who will be hosting this Sunday's PoeMobile event in my home little neighborhood of Bed-Stuy. Saturday. Then too. Saturday, Toni. We're going to get you in
Awesome.
Bed-Stuy with the PoeMobile.
Yes,
Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome.
But before we start, I do have to point out that this is part of a larger initiative from the Penn World Voices Festival.
right.
This is Brooklyn's big contribution to the Penn World Voices.
It's one of
So
the biggest literary festivals in the United States.
Bet it is.
And it's coming to Brooklyn.
And we got a mobile.
And it's coming. It's not only coming to Brooklyn. It's coming to the corner of Bedford and Madison Street in Bed-Stuy
That's so close to me.
at 7 o'clock.
I'll see you.
Or it starts at 8 o'clock
8
actually
o'clock.
on Saturday.
Okay.
And it's a piece of guerrilla theater. It's across the street from the workshops, community workshop space of the Church of the Nazarene.
Awesome.
And we project poems onto buildings, and we have this beautiful, highly decorated art truck. And it brings the poems to life by making them larger than life, sort of like the cave paintings. You know, you see the poet, and then you see their words projected onto the buildings writ large.
Speaking of bringing things to life, you, ma'am, are going to be bringing some things to life, hosting this thing on Saturday.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really excited because this is one of the reasons I moved to New York.
Yeah.
Was as a poet, as an MC, as a theater artist, as a musician, was to be able to do art.
Right.
And so I'm just really excited. You know, with all the arts budget cuts and all the things trying to hold us down, it's exciting to see the PoeMobile, to see the Penn World Literary Festival celebrating poetry and taking it to the community. We'll be in Harlem Thursday and in Brooklyn on Saturday in the heart of Bed-Stuy.
That's right.
Perfect. So this is such a creative and new idea, the PoeMobile. How did this concept come about?
Well, we dreamed it up. I worked on it with Bob Holman, another well-known friend and poet, we came up with the idea of applying for it to the Rockefeller Cultural Innovation Fund, because we thought it was an innovative idea, and they liked it, so they funded this truck.
All right.
So we went out and we bought the mobile itself, which is actually a 1988 Chevy step van, which we bought for $5,000.
Was that like an old ice cream truck?
It looks like an old ice cream.
It was a DHL truck. It was an old DHL truck.
Oh, okay.
And then we bought a very high-powered projector, and we started experimenting on how to make these words come to life. And we had special software that we can use to translate from English to any other language. So you see the poems. A lot of times we just did a Quechua event in the Bronx with the Quechua-speaking community from different parts of Central America. And so the words appear in Quechua, and then they appeared in Spanish, and then they appear in English. So you can kind of do things in multiple languages. And then we also are bringing some young poets to this event as well. And sometimes we've had the young poets take a picture of a building and then map their poem onto the photograph so that we can project onto the building and project around the windows and make it kind of fit the architecture of the building.
That's phenomenal. It's so nice to see this technology and creativity put to work for someone who's not trying to sell us something.
Right.
Every time you stop and pause and like, oh, look at that window. I want some yogurt now, or whatever they're selling.
Sneakers.
Yeah, to be in the community of the community, bringing all of these things used for bad to really enlighten the community.
Yeah, and the band that's playing.
The band is playing is called the Mighty Third Rail, and a lot of people have heard of them, but they're fantastic, and they're also fantastic at bringing poetry to life.
And they improvise.
It's a rap music group, but
sort of like hip hop, soul, and able to play rock and jazz and all the influences that make up hip hop. But what's dope about them? They're good at improvisation.
See, I wanted
so
to
when
talk
I freestyle,
don't start now.
Yo, Steve said, Toni, guess what we have for you? I was like, woo, yes.
So I want to ask you about bringing that together as an MC and a poet and an actress, like straddling all these genres, and then being able to bundle that and present it in a place like Bed-Stuy that is so creative and vibrant on one end and is like very starved for culture on another. Like there's all this duality that exists in the neighborhood. So how do people receive that? And you're exposing them to things I can imagine, from your poet friends to your hip hop friends to all these people in the middle. You're
I was just telling Steve in the cafe, like we're living in this amazing space, like with the political climate, with us us all being starved for the arts, and then you turn on the radio, let's not even talk about that. And so what's happening is when people get the real, they feel fed. And the response is overwhelmingly positive and inspiring. And young people, I teach through a program with Carnegie Hall, and the kids, these 14 and 15-year-olds, they shock me every week. Like, there's something has shifted in the air, and I'm just glad that it's shifting in Brooklyn.
Right. And how did you become involved in this project?
I became involved with this project because years ago, Steve Zeitlin recruited me for a program called the Civic Dialogues, using poetry.
The Poetry Dialogue.
Poetry Dialogues is a way to inspire civic dialogue in the community, and I was able to work with an elder, Jali, and 7 students who got paid and fed to show up, so you know.
Oh yeah, so they were there on time.
Only reason we're here.
Exactly.
But Steve, you really humble brag, you're like changing people's perspectives and stuff now. The Rockefeller people help to gas up the tank, but you're really out there
and you're
doing
driving
the work.
it, right?
I'm driving it.
Literally.
That's
I'm
great.
driving it.
What inspires you to keep doing this and bring poetry where there's not a lot of poetic things?
Yeah, it's you do it because you create some magical moments. You know, it's a ton of work, and the thing breaks down all the time. But when it works, it's beautiful, and we've got it now, so we got it to work. So it's really a beautiful thing. And the theme of the program is Africa, and we're actually reading from a new box set of African poets. In addition to each poet doing some of their own work, they're going to read some of these wonderful African poets. All of them writing in English, actually.
8 new generation African poets is what the box set is called. Yeah.
All right. So speaking of poets, do you have some work you're going to share with us today?
I wanted to share some of their work since we'll be sharing that.
Excellent.
And I think there's a couple. I have on my iPod. I'm doing something I said I would never do.
Okay, we're gonna divert the camera from you for a second so you can do it off camera and get the poem together.
Okay.
And just ask you what time and where we can show up to preserve her not having to show iPad.
So Saturday, it's the corner of Bedford and Madison.
Okay.
It's across the street from the Community Workshop Center at the Church of the Nazarene, and it's part of the World Voices Festival, so there'll be people there from all over, but we hope that there'll be lots of people from the neighborhood too.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about it. I mean, it's a very well-planned and curated event, but it's also some kind of crazy, wild guerrilla theater at the same time. And when it happens, it just explodes. And we also bring out a really good sound system, right there on the sidewalk.
Okay.
And we have a building where we've gotten permission to project the poems onto the building.
Right.
And we have this incredible band, the Mighty Third Rail.
Right.
And and Mo Beasley, who's a well-known poet, and Toni, and some youth poets as well. And what could be better than that? And when it works, it just rocks.
Oh,
It's
it's gonna
8
work.
p.m., right?
And it's 8 p.m.
Saturday.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
And now, with no further ado, you want to introduce the Toni Blackman,
The beautiful
Robin?
poet, Toni Blackman.
Okay, this is one of the poems from the box set. The poet's name is Liu, and it's entitled Regrets as Long as Fishing Lines. I dreamt we were made of sand, trickled from the mouth of a catfish, and I remembered pulling 2 out of Lengano. When this mother was done spilling us into form, she coughed up a coil of bronze and sucked it into each of our foreheads. Then, beginning from her whiskers, she cracked into a pile of sheer shells. So I carried them, nestled in my hair, to the edge of a shoreline, wanting to bless her with rest. But her pieces had melted in the sun, leaving my strands soaked in liquid gray.
All right,
Beautiful.
if you needed any other reason to come out to
Exactly.
Bedford and Madison Saturday at 8 p.m.
8 p.m.
At 8 p.m.
All
We'll
right,
see you
thank you
there.
both.
Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you.
All right.